Hey Pennsylvania, it's wine o'clock on Wine Time PA. Join Rob, Holly, and Steve as they explore their home state of Pennsylvania and all the wonderful wineries it has to offer. Each month, they take a journey tasting the wines of PA. If you're able, pour a glass of your favorite wine and join us now for Wine Time.
Welcome again to another thrilling adventure into the world of Pennsylvania wine. This is Wine Time PA, a trio of wine aficionados traveling their home state of Pennsylvania, exploring the over 400 local wineries. In each episode, we feature a winery we visited and tell you what you should expect when you plan your own visit. I am one of your hosts, Steve, and I am joined with my co-host, Rob.
Guten Tag.
And my lovely wife, Holly.
Aloha, everyone.
Today's episode, we will be discussing Thunder Ridge Vineyards, located in the town of Spring Grove, which is just outside of Hanover. We visited in July of 2024, so any of the information you hear is going to be from that time frame. This is the first time for all of us visiting Thunder Ridge after learning about them through our social media accounts. And we are very glad for that because it was just such a lovely visit. Most importantly, Thunder Ridge is only open on Friday evenings, Saturdays, and Sundays, though you can contact them about purchases on other days of the week. So don't just show up on some Tuesday afternoon and send us hate mail because you can't drink wine. Also, they do close occasionally for special events, so just, check ahead before you plan your visit. We were the first to arrive that day, actually, when we did our visit, and right when they opened on Friday afternoon. And it was kind of funny because I'm driving, and we pull up, and then I just got confused because no one else was there yet, and I didn't have any idea where to park.
Listener, when you're pulling in, it's basically you're pulling into this long driveway. You see this beautiful house, an outdoor pavilion with tables and chairs, rows of beautiful grapevines, and this building that has the winery sign with an entrance door and some garage doors as well. And there's a little parking area by those garage doors, but you're not really quite sure where you're supposed to park. And you can pull in that area in front of the garage doors, we found out, but luckily somebody came out and told Steve that he can just pull into the grass right along the driveway. So if you visit, the right opening, you don't see other cars, just pull right into the grass. But
yeah, once I got parked there, everybody else just fell in line really easily. So
yeah, but it was nice. And honestly, my first thoughts in terms of like the first impressions when you saw this place is, you are in more of a residential home. It's not a huge residential area, but you're walking into somebody's house. And that's what I got the feeling is that stepping into someone's home and property, but you could tell it's someone who takes really great pride and care of their property. And I mean, everything was just beautifully and immaculately maintained, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. I think the feeling that being welcomed was like you're being welcomed to someone's home. It was how warm and welcoming the staff was.
Yeah, the staff was so awesome. You just felt like you were family.
We were greeted with big open arms, and I don't think this was just because they knew we were coming for the podcast. We noticed they seemed to be welcoming every customer like this into their tasting room. Everyone was like a neighbor or a good friend that they were just excited to see that day.
Yeah.
We did get a little behind-the-scenes tour before our tasting from the winemaker, and we just want to take a moment to thank them for that. Just from the short behind-the-scenes look they gave us, you could just get a sense of pride and love that the entire staff have for what they do. If I'm being honest, at this point, I was already completely blown away with this winery before I even sampled one wine. So kudos to them.
Yeah, and I just want to add, I want to thank them as well for the tour, and then I really enjoyed it and learned some things about making wine. I mean, I know some of the basics about making wine and going into it, but it's one area I don't mind learning a little bit more about, and they gave us some really great information. I really liked seeing and learning some new things I didn't know about before, like I liked the little wood sticks that they use sometimes, those wood-flavored things to add oak flavor to wine. I thought that was really cool. I thought the corking machine was cool. I also really loved seeing they showed us the corks, the champagne style corks before they put them in the bottle. Like those things are big. I'm like, how do they get into that bottle? How does the science work on that?
Yeah, I'm amazed that they don't break more bottles trying to put those giant corks in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just really nice of them to show us around. I learned a lot. It was an incredible experience, really. It also shows all that time and work that goes into making a wine properly that you don't necessarily think about. It was interesting how often they taste the wines during the process to get them just right. I'd say sign me up, but to be honest, I don't think I have a sophisticated enough tongue to understand the subtle nuances that make a wine perfect.
Yeah, probably after like half hour, be like, oh, this tastes great.
Yeah.
Everything tastes great.
As I stumble out the door, yeah. Yeah, the tour wasn't long, and the facility is impressive, even if it's not that large. They are a small batch winery. They focus on producing small but delicious batches of wines from grapes that they own or source locally, and all from Pennsylvania. Yep. Which I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that we keep running into wineries that are 100% or nearly 100% Pennsylvania. That's something that surprised me about this whole podcast adventure.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
After all that discussion of wine, I was so excited to finally try some.
Yeah, me too.
They have a really nice wine selection as well, around 52 wines in total on their menu. They're broken down into 14 dry whites, 13 dry reds, 9 semis, and 16 sweet wines. They have a really nice range of varietals and wine and grapes in each type. This is just one of those wineries that's going to cater to you regardless of your palate because they have so much and so many options. But not every wine is available every day for tasting. This is because they are a small batch winery. It would just be too risky to open up everything every day and have to toss whatever was left over.
Yeah, we hate to see wine go wasted.
Yeah, and when we visited there, they had about 15 wines open and available for tasting. The staff told us they rotate through the available list often, so what is offered on one visit may change even to the next week. The way tastings work there are 2 options. You can pick 5 wines and get a 1-ounce sample of those wines, or you can do a custom flight of 4 wines, which had about 2-ounce pours. You could also purchase wine by the glass. If there is a wine you really want to try, but it's not on their list for tasting that day, you can still purchase a bottle of that wine. In fact, they were kind enough to open a bottle not on their list that day for me, and I ended up buying a bottle of that to bring home. Spoiler alert, this one made my recommendation list, so a little bit more on that a little bit later. As for the pricing on their bottles, they were very reasonably priced, starting at about $15, with the highest being about $25, but a good majority of those were under $20.
Yeah, I thought they were reasonably priced. There was one I really wanted to try, and it was a reasonably priced bottle, so I just bought a bottle to take home.
Yeah, it made me feel a lot better because, sad to say, but Gravity stole a bottle from me. So yeah, I bought one that wasn't available for tasting that day, and unloading the car, Gravity stole it.
I saw it. It just jumped out of the box.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't even know how it happened, but so I'm going to have to go back and get that again because it was the cranberry, which is why it's not going to make my list because I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah, we'll have to go back so you can try that wine.
Yeah.
In addition to the wine, they do have their own hard cider and 2 wine slushies available, and these could be substituted for any wine on the tasting. Besides the cider, they did offer beer for those who prefer that to wine.
And they did allow you to bring your own non-alcoholic beverages, and you're also allowed to bring your own food if you want. However, they do have a few food options for you. They have a cheese and cracker board, which is what we all got to snack on while we were there, and it was delicious. They also have a cheese and cracker with meat board that you can get. I also noticed they sell their own cheddar cheese infused with their own red wine to purchase, which I thought was interesting. And finally, they also have pizza. Actually, during the tour, we saw the wood brick oven they used to make the pizzas in and learned the dough was a custom recipe that they make themselves. It sounded really amazing, but we sadly had no room for food when we were there.
They even at one point brought out a pizza that they made for somebody else to show it to us. I think they were trying to get us to buy one, but
yeah, I'm actually disappointed they did
that. It looked really good.
I really wanted that pizza after I saw it, and we were so full.
Yeah, we'll have to go back for pizza.
Yeah, to be honest, I might just go back there for the pizza and cranberry wine. So yeah, they even had this nice, beautiful outdoor pavilion for tasting wine and eating pizza. You could bring your own lawn chairs or blankets to sit in the grass. They have some, but if you bring your own, you guarantee you got a place to sit if they're busy that day.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to move on to the good stuff. Let's talk about the wines. This is the part of each episode where we have narrowed it down to our top 3 favorite wines from our visit. The wines we are about to recommend are just based on our personal preferences. We are not being endorsed or paid by anyone at the winery or in the wine industry for our recommendations. We also believe strongly that when it comes to wine, Don't worry about what people think. Just drink what you love. As a smart man and a smarter husband, I think my lovely wife should start us.
Ladies first. All right. So my number 3 pick was the Trio Harmony. And this was a semi-sweet blend of 2 reds and a white wine. It had smells of currant, plum, berries, and overall was just a wonderful bouquet of fruit aromas in my nose. And you do get that fruit in the taste, but there was also subtle hints of smoke and spice that I thought balanced the fruit and worked really well together, and had some really nice tannins as well. And I just really enjoyed this wine.
Yeah, I like anything with currant. I think it's an underutilized berry. Is it a berry? I don't know what it's actually classified as, but love it nonetheless. My number 3 pick is the Cab Franc, which is going a little outside of my typical.
A little bit.
Yeah. But the thing is, I'm actually starting to really enjoy Cab Francs. They've been about 50-50 with me, and this was just a really nice example. It had this beautiful bit of red fruit, but I'm not exactly sure which red fruits. Definitely a blend of a couple, but not really sweet at all. Just that rich fruit flavor, not really any sweetness. And then it just finished quite dry with this lovely bit of spice. It was just a really nice representation of a Cab Franc, and just I had to recommend it. Even if you don't like Cab Francs, give this one a shot. It's just a bit different, and I'm not a big dry red fan, and this just really hit the spot, because this was about as dry as you can get, as far as my rating sheet was concerned.
Yeah, I mean, this was a nice dry red, and I've been starting to enjoy Cab Francs a little bit more too, especially since they tend to be a little bit lighter bodied.
That's what I like about them.
Yeah, they're a little lighter bodied than most dry reds. But for my number 3 pick, I'm actually still going to pick another dry red. I know, shocking.
Yeah, shocking. Wow.
And this is the Norette. This is not one I've seen too often on our journey across Pennsylvania so far, but it's one I've come across in the past. This was a medium to maybe even full-bodied red, so it was a little heavier than that Cab Franc was that Steve just mentioned. It had some notes of smokiness to it, which I really tend to enjoy, but it also had a sweet taste with some berries, maybe even raspberry and cherries in the taste. It was lightly oaked. You know, I could have maybe seen it a little heavier oak, but I think the light oak was done well. But man, those tannins at the end, that dryness was just so good at it. And it was just a really silky smooth to drink. And I think I bought a bottle of that to bring home. So it's my number 3 pick in the Norette.
Good choice. Didn't really make my list, but I do remember thinking it was an enjoyable wine.
Yeah, I'm not always a huge fan of that particular grape, but I remember enjoying that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So start kicking us off on our number 2 picks. I'm going to stay with the dry wine, but flip over to the whites, and I'm going to pick the Saval.
Yeah, that's becoming your alley now.
Yeah, this is a grape and a wine that I'm finding more and more that I'm just enjoying. Saval is a French hybrid grape that is similar to a Pinot Grigio or a Sauvignon Blanc or even Rieslings. So if you're a fan of any of those wines, you know, I would encourage you to check out the Saval. This one was a bright, crisp wine with hints of lemon and citrus in it. Even it had some minerality to it, sort of that taste you get in Rieslings a lot of times. Again, like I said, it was a dry white, and it was just a pleasant amount of acidity to the finish, which, Holly, I think I'm starting to warm up to acidity in wines, especially those white wines, and starting to appreciate more. And Savals tend to have a little bit higher acidity to them, but this one was just a really nice wine and my number 2 pick.
Yeah, I mean, when you do acidity well in a white wine, there's nothing like that, at least in my opinion. I like that. And I like the Saval. I mean, there was a lot of wines I really liked from this winery, and the Saval was a nice one. Didn't make my list because it was just hard for me to pick for my list, to be honest, but it was a really nice dry white wine that I appreciated. My number 2 pick is the November Rain. Which makes me think of the song November Rain. Anyway.
Cue the music.
Your font's even in purple.
Yeah, purple. Yeah, November Rain. It's a semi-sweet rosé, and it's made with the Marquet grape. It had some really nice floral and rose notes with fruits and berries. I thought it had a really nice acidity. I thought it finished with like the strawberry watermelon flavor. I even put like a note of mild cream flavor in it, but that might have been because we were eating cheese at the time. So I'm like, did the cheese come from the wine? I don't know. But either way, I just really liked the combination of this wine and how it played in my mouth. And it was just fun and unique in my opinion. So that's why it made my list.
I don't think I've even heard of the Marquette grape, so I'm going to have to do a little more research on that. see what else they make with that.
Yeah, I think we've stumbled across it here and there on some of our winery visits, but I don't think it's one that we've seen too
It's
often.
not a very common one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of unique, my number 2 pick is the Twister PB&J.
Okay, first off, I just love the name because as a meteorologist, Twister is right up my alley.
Yeah, so this is a Concord wine, but with peanut butter, and it really just tastes like a grape jelly and peanut butter sandwich. The peanut butter flavor is a bit more on the subtle side, which actually plays really nice with the Concord grape. It sounds a bit weird, especially if you aren't a fan of the sandwich, but I am, and it brought back this just flood of nostalgia from my childhood. It wasn't just the nostalgia, though. This was nice to drink. It was just smooth and interesting and not something you're going to find just anywhere. And I had to bring a bottle home, and I'm excited to open it and try more.
Yeah, that one didn't break, but luckily.
No, fortunately, only one broke, and I'm looking forward to trying this one.
Well, I'm glad you put that on your list, Steve, because that was an honorable mention for me. Just if nothing else of the uniqueness of it, but it really was pleasant to drink, and it tasted like a liquid peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It really was fabulous.
Yeah, and I've been finding that more and more. I found a local brewery that made a peanut butter and jelly sour, and I don't like sours, and I enjoyed that one. So when I saw this on the list, I'm like, I'm just going to buy a bottle, and glad I did. So my number 1 pick is the Thunder Ridge Red, and this is going to come as a big surprise to some of you people who've been listening. This is a Catawba Concord blend.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, what am I thinking? And these are like 2 of my favorite grapes. I was definitely in a Concord mood that day, apparently, picking 2 of them.
Yeah.
But this one is just dominated by the Catawba grape instead of the Concord, which is a little atypical because the Concord is such a powerful flavor. It makes it sweet because, they're both sweeter grapes, but it wasn't sweet like grape juice sweet. It was a little, more subtle, subdued, and to be honest, this is the first time I've had those grapes blended together, and I love them both, and they really work well together. It was just a really nice blend, and it had something that I bet any fan of sweet or even semi-sweet wines would really like.
This was definitely one I could have a glass of. It was a little too sweet for my liking, but it was pretty pleasant to drink.
Yeah, I mean, it was sweet, no doubt about that. I'm probably not going to drink 5 glasses in a row either, but after dinner for a nice dessert or just it's a hot day outside and I just want something nice and refreshing, this is just perfect and it's so delicious.
Yeah. So for my number 1 pick, I hinted at this earlier, and so now here's the spoiler alert. This was one the wine staff was kind enough to open for me that day as I was really wanting to try it, and that is their Albarino. It's a grape that originates from the Iberian Peninsula, northwestern Spain, even down into Portugal. It has hints of grapefruit, lemons, even nectarine, so it's really strong with those citrus tastes. But it also has hints of melon and especially the honeydew in there. It's a dry white wine, but it's light in body. It tends to be higher in the acidity. Again, Holly, I'm going acidity these days, it seems. Mm-hmm. And this one was no exception. It had a fair amount of acidity in the taste. But it was a silky smooth to drink and oh so good that this was one that it's my number 1 pick, and I did buy a bottle of it to bring home because they were kind enough to open the bottle for me, and I wanted to thank them for that.
Yeah, that really was nice. My notes said the same thing. It said this was really silky smooth. I rated it really high. My only complaint was it was a little too acidic, but that's my personal taste. It was a great wine.
And of course, I like that. I enjoyed the Albarino as well, and I marked it high on my list. So my experience with Albarino has kind of been limited, and I'm trying to experiment with it more. And I've probably been about 50-50 on the Albarinos that I've tried. And this one was definitely a 50 on the plus side for me, as I really enjoyed it. I thought the acidity was great. I love the balance of it, and like the tropical fruit notes in it just went really great on my taste buds. So yeah, I like this one as well. But my number 1 pick, let's say this right, ready, is the Vignoles. Now that is a dry white wine. It had a great fruit smell in the taste that I picked up on. I noted pear, citrus, some apple. I think I was picking up a little bit of that as well. It didn't taste super dry for those who just like dry white wines. Like if you're not a big dry white wine fan, it is a dry white wine, but it didn't taste like that. There was so much fruit in it that balanced the acidity well that I really liked it. And I know we talk about balancing wines is important to them. I think Steve had mentioned it, but I do want to give them recognition for that. I can remember talking to one of the owners and her saying that, their goal is to get the wine to taste well balanced and right. So they don't always necessarily go in thinking it's going to be a sweet wine or it's going to be a dry wine. It's about getting that taste profile right. And I think they nailed it with most of their wines.
Yeah, they really did with all of their wines, really. That they struck a really good balance between fruit forward and dryness on their dry reds and their, fruit forward and the acidities and those dry whites and stuff. It was just really well done. There wasn't one wine there that I don't think if someone put a glass of it in front of me, I would easily drink it.
Yeah, and they really let their wine shine. They even the sweet ones, like they didn't make it so sickeningly sweet that you're like, ew, it was like they really let the wine shine.
Yeah, and I agree with them completely about the balance. That's the thing that I have noticed when I pick some of my favorite wines. It's always about the balance. It's about the winemakers getting just the right bits of this and that in there. So it's just, it feels natural and it feels good.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess let's go on to honorable mentions. I'll start with the Moscato because I love a good Moscato.
You do.
This one had a little bit more acidity than you typically will get from a Moscato, which I actually really ended up enjoying. I took away some of that sweetness that you normally get with a Moscato, and I thought that balance worked really nicely. It's another good balancing.
Yep. So I kind of have two quick honorable mentions because it was really hard for me just to pick one. So I got to go with my Gruner Veltliner, which, if you've listened into past episodes, this is one of my go-to wines. I thought this was a really good example of a Gruner. There were some earthy aromas to it that I really liked. The flavors I picked on were floral, herbs, slate, some fruit, and each was there, but they weren't overpowering each other. It was just like the subtle play of flavors as you drank it that you just picked up on every time, and I thought it blended well together. And the other one was the Stone Crisp White. It was a semi-sweet white blend. And at first, when I smelled it, it reminded me of Moscato because I got that orange blossom. But it's a blend, and it didn't really taste like a Moscato to me. It started a little sweet, but it had a nice finish to it. And I even think I noted some creaminess, but I thought that was a really nice blend.
My honorable mention's also a blend. It's their Strawberry Blonde. Yeah. It's their Vidal with strawberry. And I've been enjoying Vidals more that I'm seeing them and trying them more. And the strawberry wasn't overpowering. It was a good balance. Again, as we've just been mentioning, it's a good balance between the fruit forward and the strawberry flavoring in there. And, my honorable mention.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I think we got that on the way out or something, didn't we? And that was a really good sample, I thought, too. Yep. All right.
So Thunder Ridge may be a smaller winery, but they are certainly one you don't want to miss. They have one of the kindest staffs and most welcoming group of people that work there. And you just feel like you're stepping in to a friend's home or a family member's home instead of a business. For being small batch, they have a very impressive array of wines that are really just able to please anybody's palate. For more information or to plan your own visit, please find them through Thunder Ridge Vineyards. We want to thank all of our listeners out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast and share it with any other people that may enjoy it. It helps us grow and we appreciate it. And thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Wine Time PA with your host, Rob, Holly, and Steve. We hope you enjoyed our take on Pennsylvania wineries and all that they have to offer. Please be sure to like and subscribe to this podcast. Also, be sure to follow them on social media for updates and news. Remember, when it comes to wine, drink what you love.